Hello and welcome to the training session on reviewing the surveillance definition change for up-to-date vaccination status for long-term care facilities. My name is Sharice Denard, and I work with the Division of Healthcare Quality Promotion at CDC. Before we begin, as a general reminder, please contact CMS with questions about reporting requirements using the email addresses provided on this slide. The objectives for today's webinar is to review the up-to-date definition change, as this new definition applies to weeks beginning on September 26th to 2022. We will then review example scenarios and discuss frequently asked questions. Please note that the slides from today's session will be posted on to the NHSN COVID-19 vaccination website in the coming weeks. Throughout this presentation, we will be reviewing this definition as it applies to the COVID-19 vaccination modules. Now, let's begin reviewing the new up-to-date definition for COVID-19 vaccination. The image on this slide shows the question on up-to-date COVID-19 vaccination status for the COVID-19 vaccination modules. Facilities should report the cumulative number of individuals who are up to date with COVID-19 vaccines for question 5. Please note that this definition may change over time for NHSN surveillance to incorporate changes made to the clinical guidelines and recommendations. Therefore, facilities should refer to the definition on the first day of the reporting quarter. Facilities should use the definitions outlined in the document linked on this slide for each quarter. Facilities should review this document at least once per quarter to check for definition updates. Reporting periods for up-to-date COVID-19 vaccination data include quarters 2, 3, and 4 of 2022. In May, up-to-date vaccination was originally defined. In June, this definition was updated. This webinar will go over the newest update to this definition that will be used for quarter 4 reporting. Please note that facilities should use the definition for the quarter they are reporting for, regardless of when they report those data. For an example, if a facility was reporting data for quarter 2 of 2022, during quarter 3 of 2022, they would use the up-to-date vaccination definition from quarter 2 of 2022 for data reporting. Before we review the specifics on the new up-to-date definition, let's review some key terms surrounding COVID-19 vaccination. First, we will define primary COVID-19 vaccine series. Complementary vaccine series means receiving a 2-dose series of COVID-19 vaccine, Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax, or a single dose of Janssen COVID vaccine. Let's now discuss the difference between a booster dose and an additional dose. A booster dose is another dose of vaccine administered after receiving a primary vaccine series to enhance or restore protection which might have subsided over time. Whereas an additional dose is another dose of vaccine administered to people who are less likely to mount a protective immune response after initial vaccination. People who are moderately or severely immunocompromised should receive an additional dose. We will now discuss what an updated or bivalent booster is. An updated booster is a booster that targets Omicron variants in addition to the original variants. Now we will go over an important point about data reporting. If an individual was administered 1 or 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccine after they completed their primary series, with no further details provided, then for purpose of NHSN surveillance, assume these doses are boosters and not additional doses, unless you have specific documentation indicating that they are additional doses administered due to the individual having a moderately to severely immunocompromising condition. This slide shows the new definition of up-to-date COVID-19 vaccination that should be applied for weeks beginning Monday, September 26, 2022. The items in yellow are updates compared to the previous up-to-date definition. As you can see here, individuals are considered up-to-date if they have received an updated bivalent booster dose or received their last booster dose less than 2 months ago, or they have completed their primary series less than 2 months ago. Please note that this definition is the same for those who are moderately to severely immunocompromised. The following flow chart has been provided to help you determine when individuals are up to date with vaccination. Now let's review a few examples of how to report COVID-19 vaccination, how to report up-to-date COVID-19 vaccination status. We will now talk through an example of reporting up-to-date vaccination status. This slide shows how up-to-date COVID-19 vaccination data are entered into NHSN. In this example, there are 40 residents in the facility, and 30 of these residents have completed their primary vaccination series. Among these 30 residents with completed primary series, 26 are reported to be up to date with COVID-19 vaccines. The 26 are reported to be up to date with COVID-19 vaccines for question number 5. As a reminder, please refer to the table on the previous slide for the appropriate timeframes. Now we will go over some examples. In the first example, we will use the name Tom. Tom received 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine and 1 dose of the Moderna vaccine as a booster. He also received a bivalent booster dose 2 months ago. Is Tom up to date? The answer is yes. Tom is up to date with COVID-19 vaccines because he received an updated bivalent booster dose. Here's another example. Sandy received 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine and an original booster dose 2.5 months ago. Is Sandy up to date? The answer is no. Sandy is not up to date because her most recent original monovalent booster dose was over 2 months ago. She has not received an updated bivalent booster dose. The example on this slide pertains to the new Novavax COVID-19 vaccine. Frank received 2 doses of the Novavax vaccine. He received the 2nd dose 1 month ago. Is Frank up to date? Frank would be considered up to date. This is because he completed his primary series less than 2 months ago and is therefore not yet eligible for an updated bivalent booster dose. Let's now review some frequently asked questions, also as FAQs. How do I categorize a resident who received a complete primary COVID-19 vaccine series of Moderna, with the most recent dose received less than 2 months ago. This person would be included in question 2.2 and question 5. Remember that they will no longer be up to date once it has been 2 or more months since their most recent primary series dose. They will not be considered up to date until they received an updated bivalent booster.
Hey everyone, my name is Molly Stillians, and I'm going to go over just a few of the RIFC pathway slides that we have in this presentation. So just a reminder, the RIFC pathway, or Resident Impact and Facility Capacity Pathway, is part of the COVID-19 surveillance pathways. And that's where you'll report your weekly counts of your positive tests and things like that. There's 3 pathways: RIFC, staff and personnel, and also therapeutics. So this question is in regards to the RIFC pathway specifically. So in this question, a resident with a newly positive SARS-CoV-2 viral test result has received a complete primary COVID-19 vaccine series of Moderna, with the most recent dose received less than 2 months ago. So this person would be included in the complete primary vaccination series count and also the up-to-date count. The screenshot to the right is the RIFC pathway within an HSN. When you guys log in, this is what you see when you go to enter data. So for this specific example, we just have the 1 positive test, which is this resident. So this person is included in the complete primary vaccination series, as you can see on the screen, and then also included in the up-to-date count since it's been less than 2 months since that primary series was completed. Just also note here that they will no longer be considered up to date once it has been 2 or more months since their most recent primary series dose, until they receive that updated bivalent booster.
Thank you, Molly. For question number 2, an individual received a complete primary COVID-19 vaccine series of Pfizer 5 months ago, but did not receive any booster doses. This individual is not considered up to date because they received a booster dose, despite being eligible to receive an updated bivalent booster dose. This individual would be included in question 2.2. However, they would not be counted in question 4 as having received any booster or additional doses. Question 3 asks how to categorize a resident who received a completed primary COVID-19 vaccine series of Moderna and 1 additional dose 1 month ago due to having a moderately to severely immunocompromising condition, but no booster dose. The resident is considered up to date because they received their additional dose 1 month ago, so they are not yet eligible for a booster dose. They will be counted in questions 2.2, question 4, and question 5. In this question, a resident received a completed primary COVID-19 vaccine series and 1 original booster dose plus a bivalent booster dose. This person is considered up to date because they received a booster dose after their additional dose and 2 or more booster doses. They would be counted in questions 2.2, 4, 4.2, and question number 5.
Okay, so we're going to go over this same question, but how it relates to the RIFC pathway, Resident Impact and Facility Capacity Pathway. Again, that's part of the COVID-19 surveillance pathways. So for this question, a resident with a newly positive SARS-CoV-2 viral test result received a completed primary COVID-19 series and 1 original booster dose plus a bivalent booster dose. So this person is considered up to date because they received an updated bivalent booster dose after receiving that original booster dose. So for the RIFC pathway, this person would obviously be counted in the positive test count, And then for the vaccination status section, they're going to be included in the complete primary vaccinations series, also the additional or booster vaccination. They will also be included in 2 or more boosters because they've had 1 original booster and then the updated bivalent booster dose. They'll also be included in the up-to-date count. And so this is a screenshot of what the pathway will look like within NHSN and reporting the situation that we just saw on the previous slide into our RAFC pathway. So you can see there's 1 positive test. This example, this resident's the only positive test for this week. So there's a 1 in the positive test count. And then this person is included in the primary, complete primary series, complete primary vaccination series count. They're also included in the additional or booster. And then they are included in the 2 or more boosters, since again, they had the original booster and then they had that updated bivalent booster. And they are also included in the up-to-date count.
The next question asks, how do I categorize a resident who received a completed primary COVID-19 vaccine series of Pfizer and 2 original booster doses, with the most recent booster dose being 2.5 months ago? They will be included in question 2.2 and questions 4 and 4.2. This person would not be considered up to date because they received their last original booster dose 2.5 months ago. So they are eligible for an updated bivalent booster dose. And the last question asks, is up-to-date definition the same for those who are under 50 years of age and those who are 50 years of age and older? Beginning Q4 reporting period, which begins the week of September 26th through 2nd, 2022, the definition is the same for those who are under 50 years of age and those who are 50 years of age and older. There is no change. We will now review updates to the person-level vaccination forms. For users who submit weekly COVID-19 data using the COVID-19 person-level vaccination forms, please note that the up-to-date definition will automatically be applied when submitting data beginning with the reporting week, September 26th through October 2nd. These updates will include adding the updated bivalent Pfizer and updated bivalent Moderna vaccines to the booster dose drop-down menus. But for now, please continue entering booster doses administered in September 2022 as original Moderna or Pfizer. Please note that the original manufacturers are no longer FDA authorized as boosters for individuals age 12 and older. We will now review how to access the additional resources that are available to facilities. The long-term care component website contains links to a variety of training materials, including quick reference guides, training slides, and information on CSV upload. Please note that the updated CSV materials for the person-level vaccination forms are now posted on the NHSN website. The next slide will show specific links to where the person-level forms are located. Several resources are available for reporting person-level COVID-19 vaccination data for long-term care facilities. The links on this slide will take you directly to the resources. Please note that the newest CSV materials for person-level reporting that includes fields for gender, race, and ethnicity are now available on the NHSN website.
So here is also our COVID-19 module webpage. So again, this is for the COVID-19 surveillance pathways, which is going to include the RAFC pathway, staff and personnel impact, and also therapeutics. So the link here is for the long-term care COVID-19 module webpage, and you can find data collection forms, table of instructions, CSV templates, CSV file layout documents, also some training slides. Those can all be found on this webpage for the COVID-19 surveillance pathways.
If you have any questions about NHSN, please send an email to usersupport@nhsn@cd.gov. Please include weekly COVID-19 vaccination in the subject line of the email with your facility type. Please note that when you are emailing user support, the text that you enter into the subject line is very important with getting the ticket expedited to the appropriate group. This concludes the presentation. Thank you so much for your time.